What if your biggest case acceptance problem isn't money? It's miscommunication. Here's the truth most dentists miss. Every patient processes information differently. If you treat them all the same, most won't hear what you're really saying. This episode will completely shift how you present treatment and how often your patients say yes. Welcome to the Next Level Practice podcast. I'm your host, CEO Kelly Damer. Today, we're diving into one of the most transformative tools in dentistry, and not just dentistry, business in general. The 4 personas: humanist, methodical, spontaneous, and competitive. Now, this isn't just important for your patients. We're doing an inception level here, right? It's important for your team and for you yourself as well to understand the different personas, which one you are and which one you're talking to or communicating with. Understanding these communication styles, it's not just fluff, it's true strategy. It's how you turn a maybe into a confident, aligned yes. So let's break down each type and how to speak directly to them. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what the 4 personas are and how to spot them, why that one size fits all treatment presentation style doesn't work, and how to tailor your conversations to match each decision style. So let's get into it. The first persona, the humanist. So the humanist is someone who really values connection. They value the relationship, they value being understood, and they care deeply about the impact that they're making over numbers, over details, over anything else. Their decision driver is emotional alignment. So if you've ever had a team member who a lot of dentistry attracts humanist personas inside of your team. And so we're going to talk about the team layer first, right? If you've ever had a team member where you've been like, hey, how was your day today? How did it go? And they're like, it was so great. Every patient left with a smile. I got so many thank yous today. They really loved, connecting. And I heard about their weekend plans. And then you're like, okay, great. This is a hygienist, let's just say. And you're like, well, you produced, $200 today. Like, maybe not the best day ever. That's a humanist persona that you're talking to. And there's nothing bad or wrong with any persona. The main thing is understanding, number one, how to understand that persona, and then how to speak their language so that you can connect and close the gap on what the practice needs, what the patient needs, and that individual person and what their desires or their connection really is. So for your patient, something that you can utilize with a humanist type patient is saying something like, hey, let's take this step together. We're here for you every step of the way. Don't rush them. Make sure you've built rapport first, which is really why that personal motivator is very important with this persona and bringing this into the fold with them. The next persona, which is probably the second most persona that we see in the dental field, is the methodical. The methodical is extremely detail-oriented. They like protocols, checklists. They like SOPs. They like structure. They want the facts. They want the logic, and then they want the plan. So if you have a team member who loves to create lists and then cross off their lists, that's an indicator that they're probably a methodical team member. I'm a methodical over here. I really love detail. I really love understanding the logic behind something. And there's nothing more fulfilling for me than box checking something on my to-do list. So, their decision driver is going to be data and structure. So for this patient that you find is more detail oriented, maybe not necessarily rushing to ask, hey, what treatment do you recommend for this doc? What to say is, here's your treatment plan, here's the cost breakdown, here's the timeline, here's what's going to be involved, here's what you can expect. Really lay out the specific plan. Don't skip details. You're going to lose their trust fast if you do that. The next persona is the competitive. Now, it's nice to have a balance of all personas because we really highly recommend, obviously, that you have KPIs in place for your practice, that you have structure in place by position. And the competitive is going to be more drawn to that sort of structure for the practice. Competitives are results driven, they're confident, they like to be in control, and they're really looking to win the game. So bringing numbers in for the competitive is going to be a very natural thing. They're going to really appreciate having that structure and being able to self-manage from that perspective. When it comes to your patients, they're going to be more quick, I would say, to kind of jump to that end goal of what's the value, what's the advantage, right? And so you want to communicate with a patient who's a competitive in a way that says, this is the most efficient path to the best outcome for you. Don't overcomplicate. Don't over talk the person. They don't need all of that. Speak in wins, speak in outcomes, speak in bottom line for them. That's what they're going to really be most drawn to. If you've ever had a patient, and this is an interesting dynamic to think about, maybe you have more of a methodical team member who is, maybe it's your treatment coordinator and they're going over the treatment and they've got their whole protocol of here's how I remove money as a barrier. Here's how I go through going through financial options. And the competitive says, yep, okay, let's do it. And then they keep going through the detail. It's like, stop when you get that yes. Don't overcomplicate. Don't overtalk someone through, because a competitive you would lose in that situation. The last persona, which is the most rare persona, I would say, in dentistry that we tend to see, is the spontaneous, fast-paced, future-focused, doesn't want the lecture. They just want the win. That team member is probably planning happy hours. They're the one making sure that everyone's having a good time. And, maybe what we would call that person now is like the personality hire. Not to say that they're not also a productive member, but they are going to be bringing the fun. They're going to be lifting up the culture. They want to see excitement. They want to see ease. So for your patient who might be more spontaneous, talking in more ease, like we can knock this out in 2 visits. You're going to love the results. Again, don't over explain with this persona. You want to keep it light, keep it positive so that you don't lose this persona either. So why this works. When a patient feels seen and understood, they can trust you. And when they trust you, they commit to their care. Now, I mentioned earlier, this is like the inception. There's multiple layers here, right? If your team doesn't understand these concepts, understand how they naturally communicate inside of these 4 personas, it's going to be more difficult for them to identify and also communicate with their patients in this way as well. I was talking to a doctor recently, Dr. L, and she was having some resentment build up specifically with her team because she found herself having to repeat herself a lot. It was kind of one of those situations where it's like, well, if I want it done right, I might as well just do it myself because this person's not doing it the way I want them to. And we brought her back to the different personas in her practice so that she could fully understand why people do things the way that they're doing. It's not because it's wrong. It's just different. And we want to nurture people to really live their full, fulfilled selves. And when we can do that, communication is going to increase, culture is going to increase. And actually, in this specific example, her case acceptance went up 28% just in 90 days. No script changes, no discount, just alignment on persona and how people communicate. So let's recap. You're not just speaking to your team or to patients. You're speaking to the different personas, the humanists, the methodicals, the competitives, and the spontaneous. Learn how to spot their communication style. It's going to be different. It could be a variety of all of them, but mirror it to match their rhythm and really gain their confidence and trust. When your message lands, you close with confidence, not with pressure, and your case acceptance is going to go up. So do you want a cheat sheet for all 4 styles? We have it linked in the show notes. You can go ahead and download our persona quiz. It'll help you understand your own persona. You can send it to your team so that you can understand their personas. And ultimately, the goal is to be able to understand the personas, spot them with your patient, and adjust your communication based on that to improve patient communication and efficiency. Or go ahead and book a call with me. I'll walk you through it. The link for that is in the show notes below. I'm Kelly Damer, and this is the Next Level Practice Podcast. We'll see you next time.